What's up, guys? Mike the Cop here. Live from the only quiet room in the house right now, which is my youngest daughter's bedroom, with a fresh cup of coffee. I just got off of Facebook Live, and now I'm here for YouTube. And I have no clue if anybody's going to show up. We'll see what happens. I did one live video like a few months ago, and I held the phone vertical, and everybody hated it, and it was like 3 minutes long and whatever. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm seeing comments start flowing through. Good morning to you all. Good afternoon. Jeez, man. This is what happens on a holiday weekend. I have a sad story to tell you. I'm going to do a reaction, okay? I'm going to do a reaction to these two insanely viral police videos this week. The first was where the Utah nurse got arrested and then unarrested. And then the other one was a Georgia cop who made a terrible comment on a traffic stop. So, boom. Yeah. But the problem is, here's my sad story, okay? Again, everybody's checking in. Hey, what's up? I did see one comment that said, I just quit my job to watch this live stream, so that's awesome. I'm sorry, man. Hopefully, I can hire you sometime, to work on my show or something. That guy is here. Dudes, all right. My sad story, real quick, my sad story is that, as many of you guys know, I did the first episode of Off the Cuff with my buddy Dave, and we actually went into the studio yesterday and did 2 episodes. My son, who produces stuff for us, called me this morning. Actually, he texted me this morning and then said, hey, about 12 minutes in, this terrible echo happens. Just like on my mail time video, it like kicked in, and doggone it, the whole thing is unusable. And I was telling people on Snapchat and Instagram and all that stuff, like, hey, a video's coming, podcast is coming. And unfortunately, we made it, and it wasn't working. So I decided, with the options, I could either just make a static post or I could make a video. But I didn't have time to record a typical video, in studio or whatever else. So here I am. I'm live. We'll do it live. Anyway. Okay, I should be clear on this to you guys. There's something called Super Chat. I don't think that I have it on. I don't know. So I'm not sure. So I've heard that there's this thing called Super Chat on YouTube. If you're Super Chatting me and I don't see it or not, or if I'm missing these chats because comments are like flying through, I apologize. I would love to answer all of them right on the spot, but I don't know. So, okay, I don't have it. Caleb says I don't have Super Chat on. So, I guess maybe I should have turned that on. I don't know. I don't know. You turn me on. Yeah, maybe in a future live video. Yeah, I have to enable it. In a future live video, I'll do like a Q&A session. If this live video goes well, I'll do live stuff more often, and we'll use the Super Chat feature to make sure that your questions get answered above everybody else's or something like that. So anyway, let me get to the topics of the day, because I want to get right at it, and I won't be able to interact with everybody in the comments while I'm talking, but I will afterwards, like I always do. Like this evening, I'll sit down and answer some comments and engage. So, okay, let me tell you what I know about the situation in the Utah nurse thing. What I know is that the Utah State Police were chasing someone and who was running from them in a vehicle. He goes into traffic. Someone driving a truck hits that car, kills the guy that was fleeing from the police. The guy that was driving the truck is also a reserve officer in Idaho, suffered severe injuries, burns, and was flown quickly to this hospital in Utah. I don't know exactly where the accident took place, but they end up in what I believe to be the Salt Lake area of Utah. And someone in Utah can make these little tweaks to any type of correction. CWN News says video never lies. Well, you're actually wrong about that. You can think that video is going to give you all of the answers that you want. Unfortunately, it won't all the time. So just thinking that isn't accurate. Now, so video doesn't lie, but yes, context is the key. I say this about videos. Context is king because it rules the interpretation. So, anyway, the detective goes to the hospital to get blood. Now, the nurse is the real unfortunate victim in this because she's caught up in the middle, and it is terrible. I feel really, really bad for this nurse, okay? The nurse did everything right. From what I understand, the nurse did everything she was supposed to do. Not only did she explain this to the officer up front, it would seem, she then contacts, it sounds like, some type of hospital management, whether that was an attorney, whether that was just her boss, I don't know. But she then re-explains to the officer on the body cam that there's 3 criteria to get the blood from this guy. 1 is that he consents. Unfortunately, he was not conscious, so he could not consent. 2 would be that he's under arrest, which he was not. 3, that they would have a warrant. The police officer, the department had none of that. And so what the nurse was trying to explain was that based on their agreement, their understanding with the department, is they could not justify letting this guy get blood from this person in the hospital, so because those criteria had not been met. Now, quick little caveat, okay? The caveat is this. The court ruled in 2016, the Supreme Court ruled that while a breath test was minimally invasive and did not require a warrant, that a blood test was more invasive and did require a warrant, okay? Problem is, the court did not address something called exigent circumstances. Whether they intentionally left off that part of the conversation or whether it just didn't come up in that case, then I don't know. But exigent circumstance is basically, we need to get this blood now, right now, because there is a circumstance in which if we do not, it could harm the investigation in this case. Someone else may be harmed by it. They would have to justify what that exigent circumstance was. From what I understand, this was not an issue of exigent circumstances. This, from what I understand, again, maybe that exists and I'm just not aware of it. I don't want to say that it didn't. I don't want to say that wasn't what their mindset was, because I don't know. Maybe that's what they were using to justify in their minds why they had to have that right there. Okay, so if they were using that, they still went about it the wrong way. Okay, because why not just get a warrant? By the time that he went through this whole conversation at the hospital, even if it was over exigent circumstances, he could have just filled out the form, gotten to a judge, gotten it signed, and gotten, if there was probable cause to get his blood, to get it. Why would they want this guy's blood? Well, there was a fatal accident. I know in Michigan, every fatality is investigated thoroughly. So even if it's in a home, it doesn't have to be in a car. If someone dies, it's investigated, period. So, since there was a fatality, they would have wanted everyone's, blood involved in the cars and get that as part of the investigation to be thorough. There's that, okay? Now, people are asking about implied consent, okay? Implied consent, it exists in Michigan, where I'm at. I can't speak to how implied consent works in Utah. And I'm not banning anybody right now. I will say to CWN News, if you could shut your hole long enough to listen to what I'm saying, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But just relax. Anyway, oh man, I lost my train of thought. I hate that when that happens. Implied consent. So in Michigan, implied consent basically is like this. When I get my license, I'm giving implied consent that I'm going to consent to a breath, blood, or urine test if I am arrested and there's probable cause to believe that I was intoxicated. Okay, and that probable cause is built by other circumstances that we're not going to get into right now. But that is implied consent. Now, what happens if I've implied to consent, but now I'm not acknowledging that I'm using my consent to do it. I'm unconscious. So that's a problem, right? If you refuse in Michigan to consent, I have to get a warrant. And you'll have increased punishment, right? So if you're pulled over and you're suspected of drunk driving, for example, in Michigan, and you're arrested, and you refuse to do the breath test, then what will happen is I will have to get a warrant for your blood, because I can't force you to blow into the machine, and I'll have to get a warrant for your blood. That's what will happen. But can't you just forcibly take it? No, I cannot. Even though there's implied consent that you will give that consent, if you don't, the court has ruled I have to get a warrant. This is what the 2016 case reinforces. Now, you'll get increased penalties. Normally, if you blow into the machine and you're over the legal limit, then you just go down the court and you can still have your license through the litigation process and all that. If you refuse, your license is automatically suspended in Michigan for a year with 6 points added, okay? No, it's not the opposite definition of implied consent. You'll have to educate yourself. And unless you're aware of what Michigan implied consent is, you could shut your mouth because you're probably wrong. I've actually dealt with it for 8 years. So, the implied consent, I guess what I'm saying is, it doesn't apply in this case. Okay? People are saying, yeah, it was okay to get his blood because of implied consent. Well, not if it works like it does in Michigan. So, not implied consent. So, then we have the issue of the lieutenant telling this detective to make the arrest, and because she's refusing to give the blood, he goes through and says, you're under arrest. And they go through the process, and she's put into handcuffs. The video goes on, obviously, and he makes himself look terrible. What he's saying and the way he's saying it, he's really making himself look like a fool in that video, all the way around. He's making himself and his department look foolish by the way he's carrying himself. Okay. Some people have said that this nurse was manhandled, that it was a violent arrest, that she was thrown around. That I don't see that. I don't think that's accurate. If in the mind of the officer he was making a legal arrest, which I think he is wrong about it, I don't think that it was a good arrest. But if in his mind, in good faith, he was thinking there is a good reason for this arrest and she was not going to handcuffs, well, you got to put her in handcuffs. That's the way it goes. So let me be very, very clear. I think that the officer and the department were in the wrong. Okay? Just let me be very, very clear. So for all the haters that are going to watch this video, for all the haters that are going to comment, that are commenting right now, okay, if you pay attention, okay, I'm saying I think it was wrong. All right. You get that? You get that? It's on camera. Because a lot of people say, well, only good cops should call out the bad cops. I'm saying that I think it was wrong. I'm not saying that guy has been a bad cop all of his career or anything like that. I'm just saying that in this case, he's wrong, and he made himself look like a fool, okay? Some people do bring up that there are different laws when it comes to CDL holders, but the same thing is going to apply even with implied consent on there based on the policies and procedures that exist in place that the nurse mentions. Those three things. 1, he gives consent. 2, he's under arrest. 3, there's a warrant. Outside of those things, the hospital is saying our arrangement with the department are these criteria. And those weren't met. So, there you go. No one thought, it's irrelevant if they thought he was DWI. The point is that fatal accidents are going to be investigated. Okay? And yes, people are talking about all the other officers should have stopped him. Well, listen, there's a chain of command in police work, okay? Lieutenant, detective, officers, okay? So they did try to calm him down, Okay? We don't know what those officers know or heard. If I was on scene there and that detective was talking to the nurse, I might have been talking to another cop about the game last night or something like that. I might not have been listening to all the details of this. So it's not like there's some guarantee that everybody in the room knows everything that everybody else does. So there's that. This video is already kind of going on a little bit longer than I anticipated. But there you go. I tried to be as objective as possible, right? I want to be very clear that I feel terrible for this nurse, the situation that she was put in, and I also think that the police department was very wrong in how they handled this, okay? Now, let me be very clear about this, too. Police officers and nurses, actually, and doctors, typically get along just fine, all right? Now, what the problem is when society takes one example, okay, of something that should not have happened and then makes it and pretends it's normative across the board, okay? That's really a disturbing trend that I see, is people look at this cop making this arrest and making a bad arrest and then seeing all of this unfold and then acting as if that happens all the time everywhere. That's just not reality, okay? That's just not reality. And we have to be more objective. We have to be more thoughtful in how we approach topics, okay? The cop did not need to take action against her, period. Truth be getting told, you're not listening to a word that I'm saying. If that's your comment, you're not listening, okay? Again, most nurses, spot on, doing their job, awesome. Most cops, doing their job, spot on, no problem. In this case, I think the cop and the department were in the wrong. And I think they're going to, hopefully learn from that. And it's not going to surprise me if there's discipline handed out, if somebody loses their job or whatever. So, yeah, that's the nurse video. Now, there's another video that was relatively simple to respond to, okay? And that is that this Georgia police officer, he is at a traffic stop where he's going to make an arrest, okay? Did anybody see this one? This is another one. This is another example of something that went viral this week. And the lady is talking about how she's seen so many videos of cops shooting people, and she doesn't want to move her hands because, she doesn't want to get shot. The cop gives this sarcastic answer that says, well, why are you worried, basically? Because you're white, and we only kill black people. Did he mean that? No, this was not some confession of the officer that they kill black people. This was sarcasm. What seems to me, I'm not pretending that I know exactly what was going through his mind. It seems to me it was born out of frustration, okay? Maybe he's heard this over and over and over again, and he's tired of it, and so he instead of keeping it up here, inside thoughts, instead of keeping it up there, he lets it out at the wrong time to the wrong person. Could have been frustration. He could have actually been just really bad at humor. And he could have been trying to actually put her at ease with a joke, and it was terrible. A terrible, terrible time and a terrible context to put a joke in there. Okay? So, man, does that make him a bad cop? No, I don't know. Maybe he's the worst cop that's ever existed. Maybe he's one of the best, and finally cracked. I don't know. And an example here is Sandra Frazier. Please don't make excuses for him. Sandra, if you are listening to me and you think I'm making excuses for him, my goodness, woman, are you not listening to English? Because that's the language that I am speaking. Sandra, are you still there? I hope you're still here listening. I'm telling you. Okay, good. You majored in English, Sandra. What part of me saying that he should never have said that was standing up for him? please, enlighten me, okay, with the words that are coming out of my mouth. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Sandra, I am telling you that I do not think he should have said that at all. I was not giving any justification, Sandra, at all. What I'm saying is that he could have wanted to be calming her down, and he chose the worst possible way to try to attempt to do it. Okay? I am saying that maybe he was frustrated from hearing ridiculous excuses, ridiculous statements, and he let it get to him. And he said something he shouldn't have said out of frustration. Could be. I don't know. My point is, you don't know either. Okay? Yes, Sandra. So, Sandra, of course, everyone, is a great example of how someone gets frustrated and never makes mistakes. So I would suggest following Sandra on YouTube and following Sandra's channel, and all of the body cam footage and footage that exists of Sandra's life. You will all be so excited to know that when you follow Sandra around for 15 years, she is never going to make a mistake. She's never going to make a mistake. Man, that Sandra, she is something else. Anyway, so my point is, I do not think that the cop was intelligent for using that moment to say those things. So, again, people always say, "Good. If you were really a good cop, Mike, you'd call out the bad cops." Here I am on my channel, publicly saying, I think the officers in Utah made the wrong decision and were in the wrong, and I think this officer in Georgia was in the wrong. Now, what I am asserting is that we don't take these viral videos and just because we see it on video, pretend that every single officer you're encountering, every single officer out there is doing the same things. That's why this channel exists. That's why I do what I do, to bring what I really hope to be objectivity and transparency from the perspective of a police officer. Okay? So I can be completely critical of police officers. Now, most of my time I spend trying to address topics where law enforcement intersects with culture, and I try to put a sarcastic little spin and have fun with it, and educate / entertain at the same time. You know, I don't want to get pinned down into only talking about certain topics certain ways. But this was so requested for me to talk about that I wanted to be able to address it. I love the folks that support me on YouTube. I love the fact that you guys have an interest in this and you continue to support me and you continue to encourage me. And I love the fact that we get to pin morons that can't take a hint and they get verbally curb stomped in the comments with intelligence. With intelligence. Okay. So that's it for me. Maybe I could have made millions if I had Super Chat on, but I didn't. So here's what we will do. Coming up this week, how about this? Start thinking. If you're watching this video, think about the questions that you want to ask about law enforcement or ask me personally. I will do a live Q&A video this week, and I will try to announce in an upcoming video when that will be, day and time kind of a thing. Pay attention. If you're not following me on Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, I will announce it there. And we'll do a live Q&A on YouTube. We'll do the Super Chat. That way the Super Chatters get their questions answered before everybody else or something like that. Donate to Harvey Relief. Yeah, quick word before I sign off. Man, tragic stuff with Harvey. I do have a fundraising t-shirt. 100% of the profits are going to the Red Cross and the Sergeant Perez from Houston that died in those flood waters. 100%. Myself and Ranger Up are partnering together, and we put it on humanizingthebadge.com. So if you're watching this and you want to do something and you haven't yet, humanizingthebadge.com under apparel, there is a Texas Strong tee. Again, 100% of the profits. I make $0 all going to there. And then in September, I think it's the 18th to the 20th, I will actually be going down with a few other officers to volunteer in some cleanup efforts in Houston. So I really try to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to go down to Houston and get to work and do something. Hopefully, be an encouragement to people down there. A lot of people, even officers, are out there working, and they lost their homes and they lost their cars too. So people are wanting to know what my Instagram is. My Instagram is Mike_the_cop. My Facebook is Real Mike the Cop. My Snapchat is Mike_the Cop, the number 1. Twitter, Mike_the Cop. I think that covers it. Whatever. Anyway. Boom. Okay. You guys are the best. I'm out. I think. Now I got to figure out how to end this live stream. Oh, there it is. Finish. See ya.